Every TV in America turned on at 4:44 a.m. At exactly 4:44 a.m. Every screen in my apartment lit up, static, then a countdown. My phone, my laptop, even the neighbor's TV through the wall. A calm emergency voice said, "Do not look behind you." The countdown hit 0. Every screen switched to live footage from cameras inside our homes. Something was standing behind us. The last thing I remember is the sound of my own screaming. When I came to, I was lying on the damp forest floor, leaves and dirt clinging to my face. The world was spinning, a nauseating blur of greens and browns. My head throbbed with a dull, persistent ache. Where was Sarah? I pushed myself up, my muscles screaming in protest. A thick, unnatural fog had rolled in, swallowing the trees and muffling every sound. It was like being trapped inside a cloud. Panic, cold and sharp, began to prickle at the edges of my consciousness. I called out her name, my voice cracking, swallowed by the oppressive silence. No answer, just a soft drip of water from unseen branches. I stumbled through the fog, one hand outstretched, feeling for tree trunks to guide me. Every shadow looked like a figure, every rustle of leaves sounded like footsteps. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the dead quiet. The air grew colder, and a strange, metallic scent filled my nostrils, like old blood and rust. That's when I saw it. Hanging from a low-hanging branch was Sarah's backpack. It was torn open, its contents strewn across a patch of unnaturally dark soil. Her sketchbook lay open, the pages soaked and smeared with mud. But it wasn't the mud that made my stomach clench. It was the drawing. A hastily sketched figure, tall and impossibly thin, with long spindly limbs that seemed to bend at wrong angles. It had no face, just a smooth, blank expanse of white. Beneath it, Sarah had scrawled a single word. "It watches." A twig snapped behind me. I spun around, my breath catching in my throat. Nothing, just the endless, swirling gray fog. But I wasn't alone. I could feel it. A heavy, malevolent presence pressing in from all sides. It was the same feeling from the clearing, but 100 times stronger. The feeling of being prey. I snatched the sketchbook and shoved it into my jacket, my hands trembling so violently I could barely grip it. I had to find Sarah. I had to get us out of here. I started to run, blindly, crashing through the undergrowth. The metallic smell was getting stronger, and now it was mixed with something else. Something sweet and sickly, like rotting flowers. The fog began to thin in patches, revealing glimpses of the woods around me. But this wasn't the forest we had entered. The trees were wrong. Their bark was pale and peeling, like sunburned skin, and their branches twisted into grotesque, claw-like shapes. Strange symbols were carved into their trunks, symbols I didn't recognize but that made my skin crawl with a primal sense of dread. I ran past a small, stagnant pond. The water was black and slick, like oil, and floating on its surface were dozens of dead birds, their wings outstretched as if they had fallen from the sky mid-flight. I didn't stop. I couldn't. The feeling of being watched was intensifying, a physical weight on my back. Then I heard it, a faint, melodic humming. It was coming from deeper in the woods. It was a beautiful sound, ethereal and haunting, but it was laced with a deep, gut-wrenching sorrow. Against my better judgment, I was drawn toward it. The humming grew louder, weaving through the twisted trees. It seemed to pull at me, a siren's call in this nightmare landscape. I pushed through a thicket of thorny bushes and stopped dead. I was in another clearing, smaller than the one with the monolith. In the center stood a single, massive oak tree, far older and larger than any I had ever seen. Its branches were bare, reaching up to the gray sky like skeletal fingers, and from those branches hung dozens of small, crudely made wooden dolls. They were all different, carved from pale wood, each one unique. Some had button eyes, others had yarn hair. They swayed gently in the non-existent breeze, their tiny wooden bodies clinking together, creating a soft, percussive rhythm that accompanied the humming. The humming was coming from the base of the tree. My eyes followed the sound, and my blood ran cold. Sitting with her back against the ancient trunk was Sarah. She was rocking back and forth, humming that beautiful, terrible tune. Her hands were busy, whittling a small piece of wood with a shard of rock. I called her name, a desperate whisper. She didn't turn. It was like she couldn't hear me. I took a step closer. "Sarah, it's me. We have to go." Her humming faltered. She slowly, so slowly, turned her head. Her face was pale, her eyes wide and unfocused, staring at something I couldn't see. "You can't leave," she whispered, her voice hollow and distant. "He doesn't like it when they leave." Who? Sarah. Who is he?" I crept closer, my hand outstretched. She flinched, pulling back toward the tree. "The man in the woods," she said, her eyes finally meeting mine. They were filled with a terror so profound it stole my breath. He makes things beautiful. He keeps them forever. She held up what she was carving. It was another doll, but this one had my face. Suddenly, the humming stopped. The dolls in the tree stilled. A complete and total silence fell over the clearing, heavier and more terrifying than any sound. Sarah's eyes darted upward, into the branches of the great oak. "He's here," she breathed. I looked up too, my heart seizing in my chest. For a split second, I thought I saw it, a shape, darker than the shadows, nestled among the highest branches, tall and thin, with limbs that didn't seem to have joints. It was just a glimpse, a flicker at the edge of my vision, but it was enough. The drawing, the man in the woods, the air crackled with a sudden unseen energy. The metallic scent was overpowering now, burning my nose and throat. We crashed through the trees, thorns and branches tearing at our clothes and skin. The oppressive feeling of being watched was gone, replaced by a new terror, the feeling of being hunted. Behind us, I could hear a sound that would haunt my nightmares for the rest of my life. A soft, wet shuffling, and a low guttural clicking. It was moving through the woods, pacing us, keeping just out of sight. It was toying with us. Sarah had stopped screaming and was now just sobbing, a broken, whimpering sound. We burst out of the pale forest and back into the familiar green of the woods we knew. The fog was gone. The air was clear, and we could see the trail leading back to the car. We scrambled onto the path and didn't stop running. The shuffling and clicking faded behind us, but the fear remained, a cold knot in my stomach. We reached the car, fumbled with the keys, and threw ourselves inside, locking the doors. I jammed the key in the ignition and slammed my foot on the gas. The tires squealed on the gravel as we peeled out of the parking lot and back onto the main road. I drove, not caring where we were going, just putting as much distance as possible between us and that forest. Sarah was curled up in the passenger seat, shaking uncontrollably, muttering to herself, "He keeps them. He keeps them all, forever." I glanced at my jacket. The sketchbook was still there, and as we sped away, leaving the darkening woods behind, I couldn't shake the image of that faceless figure from the drawing, or the sight of that ancient oak tree, with its terrible, beautiful collection. We escaped the forest, but I know we didn't escape him. He's still out there, in the deep, quiet places of the world, watching, and waiting. And sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I think I can still hear the faint, melodic humming on the breeze. A promise that he never forgets the ones who get away. Thanks for watching. If you want to see what happens next, make sure to subscribe.